Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday morning as we start to get in the last full week of June coming up here. Take a look here, as I often do on the weekends, at the tornado count for the U.S. Still a staggeringly high amount above the norm. So this time of year, through this many days, about 965, and we're sitting at 1,230. So that's the difference right there. And you can see the difference. This is everything right here is above the normal line. And that has been the case ever since the middle of March, around the 14th and the 15th, when we had those outbreaks. And you can see the outbreaks by these red spikes right here. Here's another one. There's a couple bunched in here and here. And the thing is, in June, tornadoes don't necessarily go away, but they do shift north, as we are painfully aware of up in North Dakota the other day. And so, yeah, in this June, sometimes Junes get hot quick and severe weather just shuts down. This one, that happened last June, but this June, yeah, we've got some outbreaks that we've talked about, and it's kept the average here above the normal. Take a look at the satellite here. So, first of all, is there a hot air dome here? Where is it? Yep, right here. And that is the thing that is shifting this way. That's going to bring the heat. There are already heat warnings and advisories all throughout here, and it's going to continue to shift east. And you can see sometimes this is referred to in the summer when this really establishes itself as the ring of fire, not the volcanoes and earthquakes around the Pacific, but this is where thunderstorms tend to rotate around the high like this. See how these storms are coming out of the north? In the northeast, and then you have moisture coming in off the Gulf here, and in case you weren't aware, in Florida this time of year, the main flow is actually this way, and that's why hurricanes usually do what they do. And then you can kind of see the cumulus field increase of instability coming in through Texas there. The main activity is still connected in the northeast here with this flow. With the jet stream still pretty active up there, and that's where all the severe thunderstorm forecasts are going to be focused, and we'll show you that here in a minute. Simulated radar over the next 2 days does show Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. See how these thunderstorms develop? Jet stream pushing them that way initially. And then as things progress through tomorrow, Monday, and I'll show you that outlook in a minute, we get a more organized line here, and that tends to kind of move in this direction. And these sometimes can be big wind machines, Boeing segments, things like that. And Iowa pretty active here, the Corn Belt, not unusual for this time of year. And by the way, I'll show you later on in this video, stick around, I'll show you how severe weather progresses north on average as we get later into the season. For today, Sunday, level 2 out of 5, way out in West Kansas, the Panhandle region of Texas, but the bulk of it is expected in the Dakotas and Minnesota today, with a secondary area that, like I showed you, coming around that high through parts of New York State and also into Pennsylvania. There is a tornado risk. It's a 5%. That means 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. So a 5% chance in northern Minnesota. Is pretty active. If we look at the latest Nadocast, and since I'm getting this out late today, we can take a look at the 7 a.m. data, but it's kind of putting that same risk, 5% in the extreme northern part of the state that has a lot of lakes. And maybe a little bit of that dribbling down into Nebraska as well. Here's the CSU severe thunderstorm probabilities. They actually put the tornado probability at 15% in northern Minnesota. So that's an area certainly to be watched, along with large hail. In this area here, same area, and that secondary thunderstorm area you saw on the HRRR model right there in Nebraska, and pretty high wind probabilities. In fact, when you see that hatched area, that's a significant chance for damaging winds. Then we go into Monday. You saw how that computer model of the radar stretched things out, and that's exactly what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking for tomorrow. An elongated area of a higher risk of severe weather, level 2 out of 5. Wisconsin, Des Moines included in this, way back into northern Kansas and the UP of Michigan and the upper part of the lower part of Michigan. As far as the tornado threat for tomorrow, it's a lower 2% chance. There's always a chance tomorrow that we could get a 5% in there somewhere. Usually, though, when you see the thunderstorms become a little more linear, like is forecast for tomorrow, that the tornado risk goes down. It's never really completely gone in most cases, but it does go down. And the reason why we had the huge tornadoes the other day in North Dakota is because there was a surface low connected with that, and that affected the low-level winds. Without that vital connection to the surface winds, then supercells are not guaranteed to produce tornadoes, unless they interact with their environment in ways that computer models, can't always model correctly. Just some general meteorology there. On Monday, so kind of a smattering of a tornado risk. Again, not too excited about that, but again, when it becomes linear, especially this time of year with the instability being what it is, then wind becomes a really high risk. And the hail probabilities tend to go down. Why? Because the upper level is warmer, basically, and hail needs cold air aloft. So let's take a look at Tuesday's SPC forecast. And they're looking at Wyoming and Nebraska and a sliver of northern Colorado, and then kind of an elongated area along that front that goes all the way to Maine. Generally speaking, I think things calm down midweek as that high pressure dome begins to build in. A little bit of a tornado threat there. And again, on the hail and even on the wind, it seems like we're lowering things down a little bit. This air is becoming a little more stable, I guess you could say, because of the influence of that heat dome. But still, on Thursday, Chicago, Dubuque, over on into Fort Wayne, and Columbus, Ohio, a little bit of activity there. Friday, same kind of area. And then on Saturday, which is the 1 week mark, this is a 7-day forecast, it comes back to the Minnesota region. Not unusual for this time of year at all. Here is NIU's, my alma mater's, research and look into supercell likelihood, I guess you could say, for a 3-week period. And this actually works out pretty well. Usually, this first one reviews what I just did. So remember, this is not a specific forecast for any given day for the next 7 days. It's an accumulation of supercell risk. So if you live in Chicago, Milwaukee, Michigan, you're likely going to see a few more storms. And you already saw the first couple of days that's going to be true. Also parts of the Dakotas. Getting into the first part of July, this is kind of unusual to have this supercell threat this far south in Nebraska and Kansas, but that's working out. This is pretty common to have that go all the way up into Canada. And then all the way into July now, July 6th through the 12th, as far out as this goes, still a pretty high probability of severe weather from southern Canada down as far south as Nebraska and Iowa. Now, here's what I wanted to show you. I just took a look back. So if you're looking at April, so this is April 22nd, and this is the climatology of severe weather for this time period here, 1982 through 2011. So you can see the epicenter, according to the climatology of severe weather, is right there in Oklahoma, about where you expect it. Now we jump ahead about to June, and you start to see that this has moved and shifted. This epicenter has moved into Kansas, but notice this corridor right here. You see, we're already seeing evidence of these thunderstorms that are doing this kind of thing. That happens a lot. And then we have one more slide, and I hope I put this in order. Yes, I did. Now in July, you'll notice that the probabilities, first of all, the colors are less intense. Things have shifted north, and we still have this very interesting corridor here where we get a lot of severe weather. Thunderstorms in New England, if they're going to happen in the summer, folks that live up there are used for them screaming out of Ontario and coming into the northeastern U.S., so that probability makes a lot of sense for summertime in those areas. And some of these severe weather probabilities here, increasingly, if I were to take a look at this 1 month in advance from this, and I didn't grab that one, hurricanes actually start to affect the severe weather probabilities on the eastern coast of the United States. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day one because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.